Ethiopia is a land of wonder and enchantment, a country with one of the richest histories on the African continent, a land of contrasts and surprises, of remote and wild places, home to cultured and friendly people who are descended from some of the world's oldest civilizations. This is the land of the fabled Queen of Sheba, home of the Ark of the Covenant, and the birthplace of coffee. Ethiopia has been called the land of 1,000 smiles. Join the class of 2005 for International Clerkship, Ethiopia.
Black Lion Hospital. The teaching hospital for the Addis Ababa University Medical School, our academic environment for the next 4 weeks, and our first glimpse at the Ethiopian healthcare system. As the largest referral hospital in the country, the cases that are seen range from the bizarre, like laryngeal leeches, a DD that must be included in cases of hemoptysis. Yes, from the bizarre to the mundane, like diarrhea. In the mornings, we'd leave Alert Hostel in a hired minivan, travel through the hills of Addis, where donkeys and goats posed regular obstacles on the road. We'd pass the glinting tin roof shanties sprawling in either direction, and occasionally get enveloped in brown clouds of exhaust. When we first saw Black Lion Hospital, my colleagues' expressions were overlapping in disbelief as they said, "Dear God," and "You call that a hospital?" There were no cameras allowed inside, and we only got a few pictures from our PDAs. But suffice it to say that what becomes apparent once inside, walking through overcrowded wards, past bits of concrete falling from the walls and ceiling, where water pipes exposed are covered in green mold. Yes, what you find in the midst of children urinating in buckets by their bed, without privacy. What you find as you watch moms rush to the woman dispensing warm milk for breakfast, once you've met the hospital's orphan, who's lived on the floor for 5 years, so long that he now works there, with no place to go, as his mother, father, and uncle all died while taking care of him there. What you find as you bravely puff up your chest, maneuvering through the throng of people packed into the ER, as you walk past children you've seen for the last 2 days laying on slatted benches covered with cardboard boxes, receiving IV treatment and little else. As the smell hits you, you hold your breath, so foul that you walk fast as mothers reach for your white coat, begging you to tend to their children. What you find once you've pushed through the crowds to get into your clinics for HIV, high-risk infants, TB, gastroenterology, is that these too resemble nothing you've seen before. 5 doctors seeing patients in one room, rectal exams done as children bend over their parents' lap, and children so sick with AIDS, PCP, and TB, making respiratory rates of 35 plus, you realize that a huge percentage of these children won't be alive next week. And the walls are covered with thick black mold, and the air is still and heavy, and a fear rises as you sit next to the resident. You're totally helpless. You're in total shock. And the resident, accustomed to this chaotic environment, gives you a reassuring smile. And what you find is that the calm is contagious, and that the person you've sat next to wants you there and wants to teach you. Not only do you share the common language of medicine, you share the English language too. And without books stuffed in every pocket, or pen lights, and sometimes punctured stethoscopes, you find that they practice good medicine and genuinely care for their patients. You find that although they are limited by lack of equipment, medicines, and diagnostic techniques, that they are wise and generous with their knowledge and the practical applications of it. What you find at the end of the day is that you've really learned and really participated in good work. The hospital also gives you sufficient autonomy so that you can find your niche, be it pediatric surgery, internal, or neonatology. And you can even work at facilities outside in the psych hospital or at the obstetric fistula hospital. What you find here is that everybody there wants your experience to be valuable, enjoyable, and above all, educational. The neonatology is also a good example. There is one collective incubator, as the hospital has none of the single baby kind. An open heater is cranked full blast as you sweat through morning rounds. There are tiny babies, 900, 1,000, 1,100 grams, 2 and 3 babies to a bassinet. The unit has 2 bilirubin lights and 1 ventilator, but most often babies are prescribed kangaroo care, or life in a mom-made incubator, skin to skin between her breasts where they can feed at will, with their underdeveloped respiratory drive stimulated by the motion of mom's belly. The best chance these babies have, one attending told me, is being a joey and their mother a kangaroo.
The Addis Ababa Fistula Hospital was founded in 1974 by two Australian gynecologists, Drs. Reginald and Catherine Hamlin. They first came to Ethiopia in 1959. Nominated for a Nobel Prize for her work, Catherine Hamlin is now 81 and still operating, 10 surgeries a day, 3 days a week. Fistula are childbirth injuries caused by obstructed labor, leaving a woman incontinent of urine and/or feces. Eradicated in Western countries at the end of the 19th century when C-section became widely available, obstetric fistula continues to plague women throughout the developing world. These women become societal outcasts, often abandoned by husbands, and unable to work due to their uncontrollable leakage. The hospital offers all its services free of charge for these desperate women. In addition to surgery, the women receive physical therapy because the injury that creates a hole in her vagina can also damage a woman's lower spinal nerves. They also receive vocational and literacy training and new clothing that no longer smells of feces or urine. We were shown around by a midwife whose love for her patients was evident and overflowing. The technical ability of the surgeons is uniformly excellent, some of the best I've ever seen. The simplest situation is a woman who's got a hole through her bladder and vagina. That's usually just stitched closed in 4 layers on the inside and outside of both structures. But it seemed likely as not that the women had further anatomical defects. One morning I saw the total reconstruction of a urethra with nothing more than scalpel, scissors, gauze, and 2-ochromic. What amazes me more is how this place even came to be. If you look at maternal and neonatal mortality statistics around the globe, it becomes clear that women's health is not a priority. You take that as a background, then try to address this women's health issue that only happens to poor rural women in the developing world. And add to that, the issue isn't glamorous or sexy. It's embarrassing to talk about, women with the problem are ashamed, and no one talks about fistula over the dinner table. And yet somehow, Dr. Hamlin and her husband managed to fundraise and build from nothing this hospital that turns no woman away, that provides surgical and physiotherapy and vocational services to all women, and that quite literally makes these modern-day untouchables members of society again.
The Alert Hospital was developed in 1965 from the previous Zenebawork Memorial Hospital. Significant founding members included the Ministry of Health, Addis Ababa University, Leprosy Mission International, and the American Leprosy Mission and Society for Rehabilitation of the Disabled. Alert now houses a 240-bed hospital with nearly 600 staff. Alert's mission is to serve as a treatment, research, and training center for leprosy rehabilitation surgery, tropical dermatology, ophthalmology, and relevant infectious diseases. Alert focuses on national and international short-term training courses on various aspects of leprosy, tuberculosis, dermatology, and rehabilitative surgery. During our training week at Alert, we received quality lectures on key topics relating to tropical dermatology and leprosy. We also were given a generous amount of hands-on training in dermatology clinics. The physicians were careful to bring to our attention key facts and kept us engaged with learning. Some of us also spent our elective week at Alert, during which time we observed ophthalmology surgery and enjoyed the opportunity to operate with the orthopedic surgeons as well. We also spent time in the leprosy rehabilitation and physical therapy department, where patients maimed by long-standing disease are exercised and massaged to return some movement to their contracted limbs. Alert also houses the beautiful hostel accommodations where we were privileged to reside during our stay in Addis Ababa. The hostel provides areas for tennis, table tennis, movie viewing, and quiet, well-manicured gardens for meditating or simply relaxing.
During our elective week in Ethiopia, we had the opportunity to spend time at Emmanuel Psychiatric Hospital, which was interesting because while the psychiatrists learn essentially the same textbook theory that we have learned, patient management is different and limited by resources. One major difference is in medications. The medications that are reliably available are tricyclic antidepressants, haloperidol, chlorpromazine, and diazepam. Mood stabilizers such as lithium are, ironically, not always available. Fluoxetine is available but expensive. So patients who are depressed generally get a tricyclic, patients who are manic or psychotic get haloperidol, and many chronic schizophrenia patients are on chlorpromazine. ECT is also available with good results. Psychotherapy is learned but not practiced very often in the interest of time. Another big difference is in admissions because the 300-bed hospital serves the entire country. In the ER, we saw a 14-year-old female in her first episode of mania given a prescription for haloperidol and sent home with her father. We also saw many floridly psychotic patients sent away with just a prescription. One more major difference is in security. There are no security guards and no locked wards. Patients are told not to go past the fence, and they usually don't. Instead, they roam the desert-like grounds without any structured activity. When asked about personal safety, one doctor replied, "The window is open, I can go out, but I've been beaten a couple of times." Overall, the elective was an excellent experience that will keep those of us who will practice international psychiatry from feeling helpless without our usual medical artillery. We were able to see how much good work is possible with few resources, and that we ourselves can be a resource by returning to a Manoa hospital in the future.
During the last several weeks, our group had the opportunity to work with the Department of Community Health at Addis Ababa University. We participated in community health training with students from the Addis Medical School, also in their final year. After a week of introductory courses and project planning in Addis, we were off to Zawai, a small town 160 kilometers south of Addis. The day after we arrived, we jumped right in and began our community census, which was conducted in a small village just outside Zawai. Paired with Ethiopian students and split into teams, we mapped the village, numbering each house and important landmarks. We later returned to each house to gather information on the population and maternal and child health indices. We were warmly welcomed into each home and eagerly accompanied by local children almost everywhere we went. By late afternoon, the village was swallowed by the dust and heat, and all the women gathered under the trees in the center of the village to chat and to escape the heat. Our next task would be to assess the health and nutritional status of all children under the age of 5. Mothers came early that day and patiently waited for us to set up our makeshift clinic. We did what we could to measure, diagnose, and treat each child with the resources we had in our pharmacy on wheels. One child took one look at our group of white coats and Farangis and ran as fast as he could in the opposite direction. Most, though, came gladly, played, and were reluctant to leave. What was first overwhelming quickly became a joy as mothers left, happy to receive medicine for their children, and children left happily with stickers and crayons. For our group, this time was very special, due mostly to the people we met and with whom we worked during our projects. The medical students were warm and funny, and being with them and hearing about their lives and experiences endeared us all to them and their country. These are people and a place we all now love.
Nikolai Fermansky from Colorado, United States of America. My favorite animal is a bear, and I think I'm going to be a doctor.
I'm Samacho from Gocha.
Favorite animal?
No here. My name is Melka Mutaso, and I came from Gojam near Bahar. And I have no favorite animal. Maybe the cows.
Cody Conklin,
Where are you from?
the United States of America.
Favorite animal?
Horse.
እንደኔ የገጠማችሁ መላበሉኝ ባካችሁ አይ